Merhaba. Thank you for inviting me to the 30th National Turkish Orthopedics and Traumatology Congress. I'm very pleased to be here and to be able to give a presentation, even if it's on a video, about Coalition S and Plan S. I think it's very important that the funders move towards open access, but of course with while ensuring that open access journals ensure quality of the papers they publish, as you will see in the video. Thank you very much. I'll share my screen. So as I said, I will talk about Plan S and Coalition S. Plan S and Coalition S, first of all, is an organization, an alliance of 27 organizations worldwide, including national funders coming from Austria, Finland, France, and all the way to the United Kingdom. Also Quebec, Slovenia, Sweden, the Netherlands are members of the Coalition S. But in addition to these national funders, we also have the European Commission on board. The entire Horizon Europe program for the next 5 years falls under Coalition S and Plan S and participates in its principles and policies. We also have worldwide charitable foundations on board, like the Wellcome Trust, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, Aligning Science Across Parkinson's and Templeton World Charity Foundations. And we also have a global dimension with the World Health Organization, Jordan, Zambia, South Africa, and the African American Academy of Sciences. Globally, Coalition S represents about $40 billion in research funds and publishes about 150,000 articles per year. Now, why was Plan S devised? Well, Plan S was devised because the funders who are members of Plan S were frustrated by the slow progress towards open access by academic publishing. Many publishers have supported the so-called hybrid open access for years and have not seen progress because there was progress towards open access stagnated around 20% of open access articles in those hybrid journals. Hybrid journals, as you know, are journals that have part of their contents behind a paywall, so inaccessible to the reader, and part of their contents accessible to the reader. And the funders thought that this pace of progress towards open access was not fast enough. Initially, hybrid journals had been put forward as the solution towards open access, that gradually all articles would move towards open access. That was not the case. So the funders decided that a push was needed to achieve this goal. Why do we want it? Another reason is, of course, that we want all research articles to be fully reusable by researchers and reusable by AI technologies. We know that in the context of COVID-19, of course, articles needed to be completely accessible, and that certainly contributed to finding new therapies and remedies in that context. This goes to showing, this testifies to the importance of open access, but the open access is also, of course, important for any other illness or any other societal problem that we might face, including climate change. So basically what the funders want is more return on their investment. They want the results of science to be immediately available to the widest possible audience in order to accelerate research. So this is why Plan S is built on strong principles. Open access must be immediate. We don't accept embargo periods. Publication must be under a CC BY license. I'll say more about that in a minute. We do not accept the hybrid model of publication. We want pricing, contracts, and publication fees for articles to be completely transparent and in line with the services that are provided by the publishers. And also the funders in Coalition S commit to supporting these publication fees instead of the researchers. Individual researchers, we think, should not pay for these fees, but these fees can be paid out of the funding of the funders who fund these researchers. We do not, we also have a commitment, I'm sorry, to assess research outputs based on their intrinsic merit and not on their venue of publication or on the basis of quantitative metrics. So the impact factor will be much less important in the future for Coalition S Funder. We want to look at the quality of research first and foremost. When we are implementing Plan S, which is already the case for a number of our funders, we do not favor any business models. So we don't think there is a silver bullet approach to open access. Instead, we favor a number of integrated policies and complementary policies at all levels of open access. We seek alignment and coordination with various other organizations, university associations, but also university libraries and university library associations, and also the Confederation of Open Access Repositories, OA 2020 and SPARC. So we think this is a global effort where we have to move forward with other global stakeholders who are working towards open access. We are also, of course, in contact with publishers and publisher organizations to inform them of our policies and convince them of the usefulness of them. And we are, importantly, also monitoring how Plan S affects early career researchers. And this is why we are in contact with Global Young Academy, Marie Curie Alumni Association, Young Academy of Europe, and Euroloc, who represent these early career researchers. They are understandably concerned that they will be particularly affected by the plans of Coalition S because they will have to publish in open access journals, and how will they be evaluated later on is one of their concerns. So this is also something that we are trying to mitigate. We also have a global network of Plan S ambassadors, academics and open access advocates in the world who keep us posted about developments in their fields. We have 3 routes to compliance. So a researcher who works for Coalition S Funder can publish in open access in one of 3 ways, or in all of these 3 ways. The first one is the so-called gold open access route, which means that an author can publish in a gold open access journal, and that gold open access journal then has to be in the directory of open access journals. Coalition S funders financially support these publication fees for authors. In a second route that we have is the route of subscription journals. Coalition S authors can publish in open access in subscription journals, but if they do so, because subscription journals, of course, hide the contents of the articles behind the paywall, if they do so, they will have to deposit a copy of the author-accepted manuscript, at least the author-accepted manuscript, in a repository. And of course, this route is not supported by Coalition S funders. A third way to publish in open access for a coalition-funded author is via the transformative arrangements. These are journals that are on the road towards open access, that conclude transformative agreements, for instance, with various library consortia, to not only to give access to reading these journals, but also giving access to authors to publish in those journals. So these transformative agreements are legitimate ways for an author to publish in an open access journal. Some Coalition SR funders support these, especially if these are under the transformative journals route of our organization. The second route is the most important one in the sense that it needs a lot more explanation. We have it's supported by the so-called rights retention strategy. Coalition S grant holders are required to inform publishers that they apply a prior CC BY license to any future AAM arising from their submissions. The authors must now add a statement to their submission claiming this CC BY license. This allows authors to publish in any peer-reviewed journal and then deposit the CC BY licensed AAM in an open access repository at publication. The advantage of applying a CC BY license is that the CC BY license is a license applied by the author and becomes inherent in the publication. It cannot be changed by a later publication agreement. That is important because this makes sure that the author retains intellectual property rights in the publication and therefore is able to share it in a repository or reuse it as they see fit. This is a way then, of course, for authors to take back control of the distribution of their articles. We have received a lot of publisher pushback on this, a few refuse outright submissions with this ARS language. But in fact, what we see is a lot of smoke and mirrors on behalf of the publishers who steer authors away from the journal of choice to open access, where you have to pay for an APC. They provide, other publishers provide misleading information for researchers, or they ask researchers to sign an additional contract not to disseminate the author-accepted manuscript, which is of course in violation of the grant agreement of these researchers. There's been a reaction of various European universities to this. At the same time, we know that the rights retention strategy is quite solid, and that the repositories who want to host these AAMs are well equipped to do so and will ensure open access distribution of these papers. Transformative arrangements, as I said, are arrangements that are concluded by library consortia. These refer to these models where publisher commits to transitioning their journals, both subscription journals and hybrid journals, to open access. These are called variously transformative agreements, read and publish deals, also subscribe to open or transformative journals. And the transition occurs at the level of the library consortia. Some funders, as I said, some funders financially contribute to these initiatives, or they are involved in negotiations leading to these agreements. This has led to an enormous increase in transformative agreements in the last few years. This graph is taken from the ESAC Transformative Agreement Registry, showing the impressive increase in open access journals as a result of transformative agreement. We also support the Transformative Journals scheme. This is again a scheme that commits publishers to transition their journals to open access in a defined time frame with defined yearly KPIs that they need to reach in order to qualify. For authors, of course, this becomes very difficult sometimes to find their way in this labyrinth of policies. So that's why we developed the Journal Checker tool. And the Journal Checker tool is basically a search engine that allows researchers to see what they should do if they want to publish in their favorite journal. So they just need to type in the name of the journal, the name of the funder, and the name of their institution, and then they will receive information of what they need to do, whether they need to pay for a fee, whether they need to apply the rights retention strategy, or whether they don't need to do anything because the library consortium is already paying for their fee via a transformative agreement. Price and services transparency. We insist with the publishers that they provide us with transparent fees. We have approved of 2 transparency frameworks, and we are looking for a provider to build such a service. This will be a service that is only available to libraries and library consortia, because the publishers don't want to be able to see each other's prices with a view to competition law. We hope, of course, that such price comparison will exert downward pressure on prices and create a more open market for publishing services. There is also no fee diamond publishing that we are also developing a policy for. Diamond open access, as you may know, is free for authors and for readers, so neither authors nor readers pay for accessing the article, and it's often non-commercial, community-owned and scholar-led. So these are journals that subsist on subsidies from ministries, also on the volunteering work of volunteers and researchers and or departments in universities and university libraries. We had a study done on these diamond journals by a consortium led by Operas, and this study found that in fact a large number of about 29,000 small journals, 11.5 of which are in the directory of open access journals, with 60% of journals in social sciences and humanities, but still 17% and 22% in science, They publish about 44% of articles in fully open access journals, which is still quite impressive when you compare it to those open access journals where you have to pay a fee. And we also find that they serve a wide variety of communities, of national journals and authors. I'm sure there's also a number of such diamond journals in Turkey. And this study made a number of recommendations for us that we are now taking to heart, namely to organize an international workshop within 6 months, which we are going to do in February. A funding strategy, so a way in which the funders can support diamond open access journals we have to come up with, and also a diamond publishing capacity center that we should set up, which is probably going to take a little bit more time. We also have open access for academic books. We have made a statement in September 2021 suggesting that all academic books based on original research supported by coalitionists should be made available open access on publication, where authors should retain sufficient intellectual property rights. They should be open access under a CC license, and we allow for embargo periods of up to 12 months, which is different from open access for articles. We do this because we think the open access books market is very different from the open access journal market, article market, and especially with a lot of smaller publishers who need a little bit more time to make the adjustment to open access. We also made a commitment to financially support open access of academic books, and we will be helped in the implementation of this policy by the Directory of Open Access Books in collaboration with OAPEN and the OA Books Network. This is where I will stop my presentation and open it up for questions and discussions. I thank you very much, and I will stop sharing my screen now.